Hello, hello. You're listening to Midnight Movie Gang. It is currently 4:36 p.m. EST Night Movie Gang. And I am joined today for a very special episode by my buddy Joseph.
Hey.
And by sci-fi horror author Harvey Thomas Boyd. Well, I'm sorry, my brain blinked. Harvey Thomas Boyd is joining us today. Say hello, Harvey.
Hey, good to see you guys again.
Rock and roll. Great to have you on.
How's it going?
Oh, that was for
How
me
you
to
doing?
say something. I'm sorry. I'm super excited. I've been on a huge alien kick. I've been having nightmares about aliens every single night, and
Rock
then
and
very
roll.
different kind of
Nice.
nightmares after seeing Romulus. So I've got a lot to say.
Very, very, very cool. Yeah, it's gonna be a great episode. This,
think so.
definitely. We probably have a very wide range of opinions on this movie. Joseph and I saw it together. We both liked it. Joseph, I don't know how much your opinion has changed.
Slightly.
I probably like it the most of everybody, but we'll definitely break into it. I guess this is a question. Oh, and for those of you just tuning in, but for Harvey, talk a little bit about yourself. Tell the audience here about your books, where they can find you, where they can buy your books.
Sure. Well, last time I talked about Paulo Duro a lot, which is doing not so great because UFO books don't move really well. But I wrote a book about eating disorders and tapeworms called Ludogy, and that actually is doing pretty well. I'm not here to just brag, but I'm moving units. It's a really good feeling. The novel is titled Ludogy, a Horror Story. It's available on Amazon, KDP. You can find me on Instagram at Harvey Thomas Boyd. I also have htboyd.com. But yeah, if you like gross out stories of little bugs living inside of people, I wrote one of those.
My favorite.
It currently is holding a 4.44 average on Goodreads with 39 reviews. So not so bad.
Sounds really appropriate for the show.
Oh yeah, Alien
Oh, yeah.
was a huge inspiration for me.
Nice.
Sounds like it fits into today's themes really well. Everyone who got face hugged in this movie could have been saved if they if they just took like an antacid. Just went to the doctor. That's awesome, Harvey. Please, everyone, go check him out. So yeah, before we break into the movie specifically, I guess it's something that we've covered before, but I guess we can talk a little bit about our individual experiences with this particular franchise. When did you first see an Alien movie? How do you feel about the franchise as a whole? And Harvey, let's start with you as our guest.
So I was actually reflecting on this. I think Alien is the only franchise that I'm emotionally invested in. There was this tweet that went around not that long ago, and I can't remember who it's from, I apologize, but someone saw the trailer for the new Deadpool movie, and when they saw Wolverine in the classic costume, they cried. And everyone was dogging on this guy. They were making so much fun of him, of like, oh, you're a grown man crying at a comic book movie trailer. But we all have our franchises that are like deeply rooted and we really care about. And for me, there's really only two franchises that I get emotional about, and that is The Simpsons and Alien. And it's because those are like right down in like the very depths of my heart. And so I first saw Alien and Aliens back to back with my dad when I was about like 12 years old. And I mean, Ripley storming the nest and having that confrontation with the Queen, I do think that's the best scene in any movie. It's not the smartest scene ever made. It's not, I don't know, maybe it is. There are better movies than Aliens, but Ripley storming the nest and having that encounter with the Queen and holding her off with the flamethrower. I've been chasing that high ever since. I think people who make Alien movies have been chasing that high ever since, and no one's quite captured it.
Apparently.
One of the most satisfying confrontations, or one of the most satisfying like monster reveals, really, like just the camera turning you see in the egg drop. Just that whole scene is iconic.
Oh, and the silence. I was thinking about how I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure that scene really had a big impact on video games. And one of the things I remember, I don't play games like I used to, but whenever you're about to fight the final boss, there's no soundtrack. And I think that is a direct pull from Aliens, of how that is such a syrupy, sweet soundtrack. And then when she's down in that nest, you just kind of hear the wind and the alarms, and it's so perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Absolutely.
a perfect scene. Joseph, do you want to go next? I've got
Yeah.
comments about Aliens specifically, but I'll
Yeah.
save me for last.
Of the three of us here, I'm probably the least amount of an Alien fan, but that's not to say I don't really enjoy these movies, especially the first one. I really like the concept. At this point, though, I feel like everyone here can agree that there are more bad Alien movies than good ones. Uh, I don't know about you, Harvey, but in my
More objectively bad.
yeah, sure. Uh, but in my experience with it is I've only ever really watched them as an adult, and I like the first one a lot. And then I've seen all the rest of them with LC, who's a rabid super fan.
Over the last few weeks, we
Yeah.
caught Joseph up.
Yeah, and I like the concept of Alien a lot, and I like Ridley Scott, and I like the first one, and I like Aliens, and then the rest of them are pretty bad, in varying degrees of entertainingness, and Prometheus is like kind of teetering on being good, I guess. And I don't know. We're not gonna. I don't know if you want me to share my opinion on this movie yet.
Not yet. We'll save it for after we're done with the
Yeah.
histories.
Yeah, in general, like, yeah, and I'd like just to piggyback off what you said, Harvey. I feel like Aliens is like one of the biggest inspirations in all media ever. Having watched it after playing and watching, like, specifically video games, like, I think every first-person shooter ever made is at least partially inspired by Aliens in some way. Like, either
100%.
explicitly, like, I kept pointing at the screen and saying, like, that line's used in this game, that's used in this game, that's in this game, that's just like Halo, that's just like Call of Duty. It's crazy, but yeah, and that's what makes like a new Alien movie, like, it's like I want to go see it in the theater, and I'm glad we saw it on opening night.
Oh, and there's a reason
Yeah.
why it's making so much money. It's gonna
Yes.
be
Oh,
a
no,
smash
it's-
hit.
It is resonating with people. It's already made its production budget back. Critically, I mean, for the most part, it's like getting great I feel like with this movie, it's great that I have not heard anybody said it was okay, or like
Yeah.
like people have either loved it or hated it for me, or at the very least love certain parts.
Yeah.
But every reaction I've heard to this movie has been strong.
And I'm glad
which-
I've heard so many opinions because I feel like a lot of the time, especially after, right after I come out of a theater, that's when I'm like super hype about a movie, and I just cannot see its flaws. And I was really like, I was like, all right, like, what could someone possibly have negative to say about this movie?
So-
How dare
And I was
they?
like, oh yeah, you know what, you're right.
Get
One of the
away
things-
from this movie, you.
One of the things I thought was really funny is I've talked to like 5 or 6 people who had the exact same experience I did. And when I first got
Yeah.
out of the theater, I kind of saw it firsthand. It feels like everyone saw this in a pretty big group of like 4 to 10 people. And there was
Yeah.
one person in the group who hated it, who was just fighting for the rest of the night. And that was very much my experience of, I think I saw this movie with 12 people. Everyone thought it was a 5 out of 5. And I'm over there as the party pooper, as I will be today,
Yeah.
saying, sorry guys, it falls apart as soon, it's like cotton candy hitting water. So
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and spoil it now. I am going to be the specter of death for today, saying that Romulus is not good.
I didn't like your movie. You liked it. Fuck your opinion. No, I'm kidding. You're not. We're all respectful here. Like I respect.
Not me. Fuck your opinion.
I got that a lot.
I understand why people don't like this movie. My fiance did not like this movie.
I got
very
that
much
vibe.
at
Yeah.
all. Well, but I'm gonna talk about it because I think I am assuming the reason why they really didn't like it is very different from your reasons, Harvey. But we'll get into that. And I definitely want to discuss that aspect of it because after I heard the thing that they didn't like, I was like, oh, okay, that definitely is a factor to consider with it. But like I said, we'll talk about it. But yeah, no, I guess, yeah, so for me, I just want my brief history with the franchise, like why I love it, or just I want to tell a little story. I remember being a little kid and going to Blockbuster, and like whenever my mom and I would go grocery shopping, Blockbuster was right across the street, like across the parking lot from our main grocery store. She'd give me the Blockbuster card, and I'd be able to go over and I'd be able to pick a movie and a game. And one day, little, I think I was like 6 or 7 years old, I saw this cover for this movie that just said Alien, and it was the green, it was a DVD, it was the green egg with like the green light going through, like the iconic poster.
Yep.
And I'm like, Mom, I want to see that. And she's like, LC, it's too scary. Like, you're not gonna, like, it's gonna give you nightmares. I'm like, no, I want to fucking see it.
I want to see the alien.
I want to see the alien that they're talking about.
I want to see that's in that egg.
Yeah, I want to know what laid that egg.
So
what chicken.
I had something similar, but the poster reminded me of Gremlins, because I loved Gremlins as a kid, and that has the scene where the eggs hatch and there's a light shining in it. So for a long time, I thought they were kind of related in some way.
Aliens was a
shared
Gremlins
universe
spinoff.
Could be.
Yeah, the Gremlins Alien cinematic. It'd be funny if like someone takes the Prometheus black goo and they transform into a gremlin.
I want the corporation from Gremlins 2 to be the one that bought Weyland-Yutani. That would have been a twist that I respected.
Clamp?
Indeed.
Yeah, I want Clamp Industries to purchase Weyland-Yutani and be the new bad corporation. That would have been perfect.
All the evil corporations make big mergers. The Tyrell Corporation from Blade Runner. Weyland-Yutani make a merger. Yeah.
Sorry to derail your story.
Well, no, you're good. But basically, yeah, no, in that movie, it fucking scared me for weeks. And then I don't remember how much later I saw Aliens for the first time, and Aliens for a long time was my favorite movie in this franchise. It has since been taken over by Alien the last few years. As an adult, I'm able to get a lot more out of that movie, like in terms of the substance of what I can read versus Aliens. But Aliens was cool because it was like this thing that I had become so scared of. This creature, like Aliens, is if Alien 1 is a representation of like sexual assault and like the trauma that comes with that, then Aliens is about confronting your trauma and like overcoming
shooting a bunch of fucking aliens, dude.
Exactly, shooting rapists in the face, you know.
Sure.
Or at the very least, like there's just a bit of like Ripley gaining her identity back and like gaining strength from like turning that fear into energy to like protect others. I feel like is very much the path of her character in Aliens,
which becomes motherhood, which is what's so beautiful about it, and that's what like Aliens did so right, is that like Ripley is mommy, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's almost like when she says "get away from her, you bitch," it like means something in that moment. Can you imagine? It has
relevance. Yeah. There's like kind of a thematic build-up to it. But that second movie kind of helped me get over the fear that the first movie gave me. And then after that point, like I appreciate these movies for the universe, for the characters, just monster design in general. I just like love movie monsters. I love effects. I love sci-fi and all that nerdy shit, and like this universe, even the dumb ones at least always have something interesting to me, or something that I can like I enjoy watching Alien Resurrection. It's a bad movie, but just as like kind of like a stupid space adventure, I would get
high and watch it again.
Well, yeah, no, it's a fun time. And then Prometheus and Alien Covenant, like I enjoy those movies. I find the ideas that Ridley Scott is trying to say in those movies interesting. But for me, the thing that holds those movies back is that it's very clear that Ridley Scott does not want to make a fucking Alien movie anymore, or at the very least doesn't want to direct one, because he was an executive producer on this film we're talking about today, and like did have a heavy role in like making it. But fucking Harvey, you had talked about your experience watching coming out of Alien Romulus, and like kind of your thoughts on it. I'll talk a little bit about mine. Basically, so for me personally, this movie, we can start going into that discussion. This movie, for me, without going into spoilers, took Alien back to a place where it is a haunted house, and these characters are trying to survive this haunted house. Like brought it back to
It's horror.
that very, yeah, it brought it back to horror, and it brought it back to this kind of simple, really animalistic level that I know for me personally, like a level of simplicity that I think that I was craving and that like I'm attracted to in these movies. And like for me, it was just the style of it was just so effective. Like the like, and like I said, I've seen it twice now, and I still like. We're gonna go into the pub. Like I love the opening, the music, just even like the titles and how they brought in the titles, just like have an impact. Like, and just fucking CRT TVs were scary in this movie. I think that was something I said to Joseph specifically. Like the first time, like all the cacophony of sounds, like it sounded like Fede Alvarez had like a soundboard of all the alien sounds and was just having a blast hitting them all off. Like just the distinct sounds of like those monitors and the sound of keyboards in this universe, like it's all just like the attention to detail just like really brought me there. Sorry, go ahead, Harvey.
I've got my review of it, my spoiler-free review, if that's kind of what you're getting at. I didn't mean to cut you off early.
No, you're good. Hit us with it.
But this is both my compliment and my insult, and I put some time into this. This was a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, A++ VR experience. And so if someone gave me a VR headset and said, hey, we made a VR alien experience, I would walk away saying, man, that was so cool. The costumes were
they
great.
played all the hits.
They played all the hits. The creatures looked amazing. I thought the station was really cool. And not just that, there were little details. There were parts of the set that were very clearly one-to-one references to Alien Isolation, which only people who are obsessed with Alien Isolation would know. And I was like, man, that's a visual...
That's the save point.
That's the hand charger for broken electronics from Alien Isolation. So that, and then the shoes.
That's cool.
As subtle of a detail as the Reeboks and the Converse were the nods to the original Alien. I loved it.
The Reebok sneakers.
So there's all this stuff that was so perfect and so beautiful on a visual level, but I thought the script was dog shit and it wasn't an actual movie. And I just don't feel like it had anything to say. Ripley storming that nest doesn't just look cool. She, especially if you're watching the director's cut, she has lost her own daughter and now she is rescuing her new daughter. It's this beautiful statement of motherhood coming out of this symbol of sexual assault. H.R. Geiger's monster designs are deeply sexual too, and you have these motifs about how, on an economic sense, companies kind of sexually assault the working class in a way almost. So I think Alien is something very profound and has a lot to say, and Romulus teed me up in its first act to feel like it was going to have a lot to say, and it just didn't. It just kind of became The Force Awakens of just hollow. So that is both my big compliment and my big insult.
All right. And I would piggyback and say it's less Force Awakens for me and more like Rogue One, Alien Rogue One.
Alien.
Where it's I had a really fun time watching this movie. I would have a really fun time watching it again. But I would say that it sets up something really interesting at the beginning, and that just kind of becomes like, all right, and then let me show you all the cool shit I like about aliens. It's like now we're gonna have a scene where this happens, and it's a cool scene where this happens, and it's very effective and fun horror with some really cool visuals and iconography, and the sound and the music is great. I love the way it was shot, and I like the cool little practical puppet effects and stuff. But I think I do agree where it's like you almost like it becomes a very simplistic message of corporations bad, and that's kind of it. Like whereas like old Alien, like the original Alien, is that plus a million other themes. What happened?
We lost.
You cut out for a second, but I think the Squadcast got it. But yeah, I got what you got me. I got what you said.
Yeah,
I was
shitting on your favorite movie of all time.
I was picking up my favorite movie of 2024 now. I don't know if it's my favorite.
I had a great time.
I will say this. when we first watched it, I was like, this is my favorite movie of the year. And after my second time, I'm like, it's not my favorite movie of the year, but I still really like it.
That
I want people to keep this in mind when we do episodes on movies I watched that day.
Yeah.
My opinion's probably different now from a lot of those in those other episodes.
I never write my Letterboxd review the same day I see a movie because I know that I'm gonna like overrate it because like after thinking about it. But as far as this movie goes, I want to now defend this movie because Harvey, personally, I respect what you said, but I do disagree with a little bit of what you said as far as like you know, yes, it has the same themes of the original Alien, which is like, yeah, companies bad. Of all these movies, which is, yes, company's bad, but I think there's more going on here in terms of like what it's about. Like for me, so I like looking at interviews. So like I've been watching a lot of interviews with Fede Alvarez, and he's talking about what kind of like the things that he baked into this movie and like what he saw. So like what I took away from this movie when I watch it, or like what I feel, is that like beyond the creatures and beyond all the themes of like sexual assault and the fear of pregnancy, which I think this movie goes more into, I think that there is definitely Fede's trying to speak to the kids. He's for me, like he's trying to speak to the Gen Zers who like are like particularly like in America, like I'm as an American older Gen Zer, like he's speaking to people who feel as though there is no hope. I am not going to, like, no matter how much I work, no matter how much I do, I am not going to make a successful life for myself. There's a pregnant character in here. Her main motivation is like literally there's a line in the movie where she's like, I'm just happy that my kid is going to see the sun. Like them wanting, you know, going to the other planet. And like, you know, for me, like they're really, you look at the original Alien movie, right? Those characters and what they want and like what they talk about in terms of, like, they want to be treated fairly by the company. Like these are like older characters who are talking about like, you know, we want to be fairly compensated. We want this company to care about us. We want us to work together. Whereas like, and that was the kind of the message for that generation as far as like, yeah, stand up for your rights in your workplace, unionize. Like that was kind of like, I feel like a lot of what was being said there. Whereas now, in this movie, they're like, you know what? The system's broken. Fuck it. Let's just go somewhere. Like, let's leave. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's a lot of that sentiment amongst the target demographic that Fede, which I think he's going for, like the Gen Zers, like young people, like entering the workforce type deal. That's to me who I think they're speaking to here. And I feel like with all these characters, like I feel that sentiment. It's like, yeah, they like specifically there's a scene where they're looking at, like, they're talking about their parents, like, we don't want to end up like our parents. And you see these older miners who have been there for decades, and, you know, they see, like, how terrible things have been, and they don't want that for themselves. They don't want that for their children. In the specific case of Kay, it's kind of why Kay is one of my favorite characters in the movie. But, like, yeah, like, it is reflecting a different, like, economic time in our real world than the original one is, and that's kind of like a lot of what I take from it. So yeah, that's my response to that about it not having themes.
So that was actually something I spent a lot of time thinking about after this movie ended, and that is especially, and I hate how pretentious this sounds, but coming at this from the perspective of a writer, is Romulus has a lot of subtext, and I agree with everything you said about nihilism and about fear of pregnancy, and I think there's even some overlap, or not overlap, but there's some themes with Andy, an android character, having their code rewritten that I think almost borders on like political radicalization, I think, to an extent. Mm-hmm. And then the thing that stuck out to me, especially in the first act when I still had faith in this movie, is the Alien movies explore motherhood, the good ones do. Mm-hmm. And I think Prometheus and Covenant, which I despise, I think they try to explore fatherhood with David. And this explores siblinghood. This explores a brother and a sister who are found siblings, profoundly different, who are both kind of grieving the loss of their family and are trying to stick together. And that's what the title of the movie is alluding to too. Romulus and Remus. I thought when I first heard that it was going to have to do with aliens being twins, two chest bursters to one chest. Wouldn't that be fun? Mm-hmm. But it's actually about siblings finding each other. The point I'm getting to is just because you have subtext doesn't mean it says anything. And so
Yeah.
I reminded of Prometheus. I forget her name, forgive me. But the main character from Prometheus, she gets pregnant and she has to have an emergency abortion of a squid baby.
Oh, you mean Jane Prometheus?
Yeah.
Jane Numi Rapace is the actress, but it's fucking.
I think her name is
Sorry,
like, it's like Stellar or Stellus or something like that.
It
Claire.
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter. Prometheus doesn't matter.
Elizabeth
Nope.
Shaw, Dr. Elizabeth Shaw.
That's
So
right.
weird that they even reference that movie in this movie.
Numi
Continue on,
Rapace
Harvey.
is a better name for that character than
Yes.
Shaw.
She
Anyway.
just called her
herself.
Numi.
But
herself.
you know, at the end of that movie, she has this abortion of a squid baby, and I remember at
Yeah.
the time people being like, "Man, you know, it's saying stuff that Alien was saying again in a new context." And my response is it saying anything though? And that was the big point where I got into a screaming match, obviously with love. 'Cause
Yeah.
movie talk. I'm talking with love and respect to you guys. But when I had a screaming match with my friends, is it has all this stuff in it, but it doesn't really feel like it's saying anything. It's talking a lot, but you know, it has this sibling
That's
dynamic.
my problem with both of those movies.
Yeah, it just doesn't
Are-
land for me.
Was this a screaming match about Romulus or about Prometheus?
Oh, a screaming match
or just
about
about
Romulus
in general?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm not. This is the spoiler-free discussion, so they're talking about the themes of this movie, and I just don't. I feel like this movie betrayed its own themes.
My question to you is, in what way? So, I guess we can start going into spoilers. We've talked about our opinions of the movie, but we don't have to get into play it because I want to ask you, how does, for example,
The
how
nerds
does
are about to fight?
no. I'm curious. How does the first Alien say something compared to how Romulus does it? Like, I'm curious, like, where that difference is between how does that first movie say its themes and like not portray its themes, and like how does Romulus do so?
You've caught me exactly on where I'm reflecting, because it's not like I'm ready to answer that, and I have asked myself that too, because there is this bias coming in. I think as we get into spoilers, you'll find out that the reasons why I really disliked Romulus are much more focused on petty stuff. If you've looked at any of the discourse, you probably know the thing I'm upset about. I do think the
I have a
answer.
guess.
I mean, the themes come through a lot more in Aliens with Newt, and I think Newt makes a full beginning of a point. Again, cutting out in the non-director's cut of Aliens, they remove the scene where you find out about Ellen's child dying, which is a huge mistake because I think that's central to everything. In Aliens, we find out that she's lost her daughter, and then she finds a child, and then she rescues that child. And so you gotta have this ABC of a theme, and it comes full circle. I struggle to answer how Alien has anything to say, other than the fact that a man gets pregnant is such a big statement in itself. And that is almost a political cartoon of there's a man pregnant with a child that kills him. I gotta admit though, you put me in an arm bar, and I don't have a good answer for you.
No, you're good. You're good. Interesting comment about like that was something that my fiance had said was something that really bothered them about Romulus. Is it was very smart to make Kane the one in the original Alien who got impregnated by the creature, because like trying to show men, like trying to what am I trying to say? Because that choice is trying to show men the fear of pregnancy and like what but in this movie, in Romulus, all of the two female characters that do die, they're the only ones that die in a way where their bodies are like violated. So like Navarro is the one who gets chest bursted, and then Kay gives birth to Slender Man and like gets sucked dry. But the male characters that die in this movie just get killed easy, or I say easy, in less sexually violating ways. Yeah,
well, that could
not
support
horrific.
the theme.
The asshole British man gets acid killed, and that shit was badass. But it wasn't like a violation of his body in the same way. You know what I mean? Like it's not like. And then the other guy just gets like eaten and torn apart by the Xenos at the end. And that was something that bothered them, and that's something that I view as like a fair critique. Is like like that choice to kill those characters in those specific ways, like, yeah, it does kind of take away from a little bit of that like Ridley Scott thought ahead on in the original. But something I want to bring up, and I think I have the answer to your question, Harvey, or maybe like a piece of the puzzle. One of the reviews I was looking at of somebody who didn't like Romulus explained that, like, how he saw it is, or like how he explained it was like, you know, there's character and there's characterization, right? Like, character is like what the characters want, what the characters need, and for me personally, even though I don't really like I only like two characters of these, really. Andy and Rain, and then I do like Kay, but Andy and Rain are definitely like the heart.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really remember anybody but those two characters.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And there's a reason.
It feels like because, like, honestly, I felt like no need to take an interest in any of these people except for these two main characters, because it's like this is setting itself up as a slasher movie, and I know that like all of these people are gonna die. I just don't know what order. That's literally the only thing I don't know. Yeah. Except for these 100%. Two who we've actually emotionally invested in.
Yeah. No fact, and there's a reason why we feel more emotionally invested in them, which was what I'm getting at, is that, so the characters, like, we know what the characters want. They're all poor. They want to live on a planet with a sun. Kay wants her child to live a prosperous life. Like, we know what they want, and for me, it's like, okay, that gives me a reason to care about them, but the characterization piece is what I feel like is missing. It is what is missing from most of the characters in this movie. And by characterization, I mean, like, look at the first Alien. We hang out with the crew of the first Alien way before we get to any of the creature shit. Like, we're hanging, like, we're having breakfast with them. They're like talking shit about how shitty their jobs are. Like, they're being like, hey, are we gonna get paid, compensated for this? You know, like, we see them in their natural environment just behaving like normal people, and just like we but we don't necessarily know a lot about like their backstories. Like, we don't know where fucking Yaphet Kotto, I'm forgetting the character's name, like, we don't know like if he has family back home. We don't know what his needs are, and like a lot of the characters in that first Alien are like that, where like we don't know a lot about them, but since we've spent this time with them, we know them as people. It's like coworkers, you know what I mean? Like, as far as like,
have a response to that too, and this is going to be a lead up about Alien. I have a really controversial opinion. I don't think Alien is boring. I think that it is definitely a movie from the 70s.
I don't think it's boring either.
But yeah, I think everyone here agrees.
It's got such interesting sets, and I think that part of what makes Alien and Aliens work is that, like, you're attached to people, and unlike a slasher movie where it's a bunch of assholes who die, it's a bunch of people you like, and they're being kind to each other, and they just kind of seem like normal, everyday people, and you don't want bad things to happen to them. And so, if someone gave me the script to Romulus, I would say, you know, the first act could have been 30 minutes longer. I was disappointed when they get in the spaceship, and then they're immediately at Romulus, which is a space station, if you haven't seen it.
It's half the space station.
I liked the performances, and I liked that these characters had things going for them. If I could fix Romulus, I would add 30 minutes of hanging out, having dinner and breakfast with these people, and I would take out 30 minutes of Fast and the Furious gobbledygook.
Yeah, I mean, they in Aliens, it's the exact same way. Like with the Marines, like that scene where they're just hanging out having lunch, you know, is like in the whole knife trick, like that's all just memorable shit. Where like, okay, I know these characters, and like the thing is, and something this reviewer was talking about, this isn't just a problem in Romulus where like most of the characters, because, and I was gonna say with Andy and Rain, the reason we care about them most is because they're the only characters that get any kind of screen time like that. Like, we see them. Isn't it funny that a lot of it has to do with eating? Now that I'm just thinking about this now.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a scene where characters like at a diner, but anyway, like Rain is having breakfast and they're like talking about their day, and like Andy's telling her dad jokes like in the opening, like that's the shit that makes you care about people, and they're the only characters that get any of that kind of treatment. Like,
I was kind of like iffy on that, I was at first when I was like, oh man, we're gonna do like, oh, he tells jokes. I've seen this before. He tells bad jokes. But then it's like, all right, well, he's only telling jokes because like he's got a piece of her father in him, and this is kind of just like her father like continuing to live on. That felt good. I like that a lot.
I hope this isn't offensive to say, but a lot of times androids are used. I mean, there's been academic writing on this. Androids can be transcoded and autism coded, and that's just a storytelling trope.
This character was hella autism coded.
Yeah,
I thought he was just an autistic man before I knew he was
a robot.
And so, again, I talk about enjoying the first act of this movie. When they first introduced the bad joke thing, I thought it was awful because I saw that in the Last of Us TV show and I didn't like it then. But if you've spent time around like different autistic people, that is like a thing that certain autistic people will do, is they kind of get caught up in like jokes as icebreakers, and they tell a lot of bad jokes. So actually, I found that really charming, and I like that about him. And again, I'm kind of repeating myself now. There was so much in that first act that felt like a movie, and I was just so let down that the more this movie went on, the less it felt like a script and the more it felt like a video game.
And the more it felt like a let's play, like one of those
oh my god,
like,
yeah.
One of those like fucking Star Wars Fallen Order the movie, and it's just all the cutscenes cut together.
The tracer like auto aim gun. It really I feel like I think I did lean into you a couple times, or lean toward you a couple times.
You did say like, what is this video game bullshit?
This video game ass movie, like the zero G shooting around, like it's literally just it's video game concepts. That like they don't, and if we're talking about, it makes us like, if we bring it back to talking about themes, it's like, what does any of this have to do with any of this?
Or if we reach the territory where I can just nitpick,
I suppose
that's the whole show, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that's weird about the Alien movies, and have you guys watched any of the YouTube videos about the original Alien 5 that got scrapped?
I don't think so.
It looked really bad, but what it was going to be is it was actually just going to be Alien 3. It was under the production code Alien 5, and it was going to be directed by Neil Blomkamp.
Is that the Neil Blomkamp one?
Alien 5. I thought, for some reason I thought you said Alien Vive, and I'm like, yeah.
HTC Vive.
Yeah, the HTC, like a VR alien game? But yes, I know about Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5.
So that movie looks awful, too. And I watched the concept art for it. It's one of the few times where I looked at like a big canceled movie and I was like, oh, the studio was right. This would have been abysmal. But it wanted to take the franchise back and just be Alien 3, of just have them safely land their life craft and go forward 20 years.
They were going to live in a biodome, right?
But as they keep making these Alien movies, they add stuff that gets like stuck. Alien 3 added all the Jesus stuff. And I'm not against a movie having religious imagery in it. I'm not. But like Alien Aliens, they really have nothing to say about religion. And then
that's my problem with Prometheus and Covenant. It's just like, what is this? What does this have to do with these? Like, it just feels like you're trying to shove a square peg into a round hole the whole time.
And so this is, again, all of this is to get back to a nitpick. In Alien 1, 2, and 3, an alien has acid blood, and that's really cool. And if you blow up an alien too close to you, the acid will burn you. But when you get into that alien resurrection territory, that a dead alien can burn through 15 holes in the outside of a spaceship, that's really stupid. And that is one of my problems.
I wonder what he's
Romulus,
about to say. Yeah.
is that it's like some of its science is really bad, and I know it's aliens that grow out of people, but one alien's blood should not be enough to go through 15 floors. That just doesn't. That boggles my mind.
Yeah, and that, honestly, it hasn't really been the case in like any other Alien movie either, has it?
Just Resurrection. It's a weird thing that Alvarez.
In the first. Yeah.
Sorry.
No. In the first movie, it's just we see the chest burster drip when they try to cut its lip, but it only goes through like 3 floors.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like in every other movie, you can kill the alien blood kind of goes down like a couple floors, but in this, it's like no, it's going down all the way to the outer hull. which for some reason also is affected by the artificial gravity.
Mhm.
I don't know.
And so we'll go through a thorough plot by plot, I'm sure, soon. But that leads me to my other big complaint. I think there are 3 sins that make me really despise this movie, and one of them is Big Chap. And you guys know what I'm talking about with the Big Chap discourse?
The original alien that Ripley fought in.
Yes.
The alien of Alien.
I didn't know that was his name.
I thought
Yeah,
I
that's his
misheard
internet
that.
nickname. That's his internet nickname. He's a big chap.
I thought it was a
Big
behind the
Chap.
scenes nickname. That's what they called him on set.
Oh, I only heard it, but that makes sense.
But yeah, when that first happened, I thought that was so stupid, and I was still in the part of the movie where I was giving it a chance, that I just kind of decided that I misheard it. But then I looked
Did
it
they
up.
call
and
him Big Chap in the movie?
No, but Ash.
Okay.
Well, not Ash, but Rook says that they captured the original alien from Alien, and that's.
Mhm.
Well,
Go
well,
ahead.
the one that they're looking at in that scene when they're like, "What is gonna come out of her chest?" and they point to it, that's Big Chap. Like, and you know it's Big Chap because if you watch the movie, you see the hook harpoon thing that Ripley shot that alien with at the end of the first movie. You can in Romulus, like they have the hook there to show you that it's the same creature.
And when we last saw Chap was on an escape pod and got launched into space. And I'm not trying to be Bill Nye the Science Guy, but in space, an object that is like sent careening in one direction is going to go on forever. So just because they found the Nostromo doesn't mean they should have been able to find Big Chap. That's a needle in a haystack does not do it justice. Just how impossible that would be.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped out. Is that gonna affect my recording?
I don't think so. You're probably good.
Yeah, everything just
Yeah.
fell apart.
Did you hear what Harvey was saying about Big Chap and how it's dumb that he got launched out of the airlock in the first movie, yet they just somehow found him amongst the wreck of the Nostromo.
I definitely didn't need that in the movie. I don't know. I don't think I know enough about alien lore, having seen all but one movie a simple one time and seen the first movie maybe 3 times.
But do you know space lore?
Space physics.
Are you referring to the fact that it's large?
Yeah, very difficult to find.
Kind of hard to find like a single thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
The human-sized object.
Yeah. As far as like how I feel about that particular thing, that's something that detail is something that I can suspend my disbelief on a bit, in the sense that like ultimately it doesn't matter that the alien that they found was Big Chap. Like which let's start breaking into the plot. The movie opens with
why even do it?
Yeah. Well, to me, in the sense that like Joseph, you missed the fact that it was Big Chap, and you were still able to understand the movie.
I mean, I kind of got the vibe, like, because the way that they were talking, I was like, oh, I guess this is the alien from the first one. Like, I figured it out. It didn't bother me, but
For me, it's something. How to put it? It doesn't bother me because it's like it's not essential to like what. Am I still gonna get alien action? Am I still gonna get crazy creatures and cool effects? Yeah. Like
on that front, I was satisfied.
Or at the very least, also people who, if this is their first alien movie, they're not confused as far as like it doesn't matter to them. Like to them, it's just an alien. Because like there are plenty of people I've talked to who like this was their first movie and they enjoyed it. So
the first movie,
or the first movie.
That must
ever.
have been a shock.
Terrified.
Yeah.
I'm never watching one of these again.
I thought the train was gonna hit me.
Yeah.
So, real quick, and again, I am being asshole-ish, so I apologize. I say everything with respect, and I argue with my friends about this all the time. But, if you sat down and your friend said, hey, I wrote an alien spec script, and, I'm just some guy who wrote some fan fiction, and I handed that to you, you would probably say, hey, that's kind of silly. Maybe we should come up with a different plot point. And it's just kind of crazy to me that this went through a lot of people. It went through Ridley Scott. It went through Fede Alvarez. It went through 20th Century Fox. And no one at any point said, that's a little bit too silly for a grown-up movie.
The movie's a little bit indulgent. I will give you that.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Am I getting too heated?
No. No. You're good. You're good. I'm
This
not.
is how he thinks and processes his thoughts.
Trust me, it would take a lot to offend me. Yeah, no, like
Yeah.
I don't think verbally. I think in images. As far as this particular plot point, like the one in my head, the conceivable and this sounds dumb because it is dumb, but here's how I'm thinking about it. In Alien, right? Ripley launches Big Chap out of the back of the ship, and she's flying away from the Nostromo explosion, right?
It hits the wreckage.
So, it makes sense to me that, like, if he's launched out of the back of the ship, which is facing the remains of the Nostromo, it's going to hit some debris, some pieces of the Nostromo that just got nuclear exploded, and maybe because of that, it's going to, like, float around. Matter is attracted to itself, you know what I mean? Like, if you put like two objects out in space, right? Like, literally just place them in the vacuum of space and don't put any motion,
or other
like,
larger objects.
Yeah, or other larger objects. Like, they are gonna slowly towards each other. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna let you have this one.
It's dumb, and it's like it is the stretchiest stretch.
We are
It's
in
a
the
rubber
nitpick
band.
section. Like, it's, you know, it's not a movie
Okay.
breaking.
Yeah,
It is just
again,
kind of annoying.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, the movie opens like we were just talking about. There's a new feature of the aliens. I guess they can make space cocoons of themselves.
Cool. Whatever.
Like it opens with a Weyland-Yutani probe, waking up, basically. Like, it detects like
Cool ass music.
alien. It detects alien. Yeah, there's cool music. There's great effects, and yeah, this definitely is a thing where it's like this is something I've seen a lot in reviews as well, where like people are saying that like it's funny how we're going back to like we're focusing more on the technical aspects of a movie versus like the story. You know what I mean? But like I'm someone who loves the technical aspects of things, and I love how faithfully they recreated the technology and the feel and the look of that first film.
As
in
far
this
as vibes go, 10 out of 10 for me. It might be a little slavishly devoted to replicating the style of that first movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, you know, if you like that style, then it's, you know, I think that it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have much of its own visual identity, I think, is a valid critique that you could give it.
Well, it's something where it's like, it's admirable to me that it remains so consistent with, like, it's trying to be consistent in its own universe. And that is like, I like Prometheus, but that's a complaint I have about Prometheus.
Dude.
Whereas, like, you know, Prometheus is supposed to take place like a few decades before the first Alien, and all the tech in Prometheus looks like a fucking Apple store. like there's
I will say I have noticed in the blitz of Aliens movies we've watched, they all kind of have their own look to them, including Aliens. Like, they all look different. They all have, like, I mean, you know, 3 and 4 are kind of brown, and 4 is kind of brownish green. And the tech kind of looks different from movie to movie too. And that's something I am interested in, because it like, it's not an anthology. Your Blu-ray collection says it's an anthology, but for the most part it's not, except for Prometheus and Covenant, and I guess this now. But the thing that makes it an anthology is the fact that they're kind of, those first 4 were all directed by different people, and they all have very different feel to them. And I thought that at least had value. That's something that I liked. And this felt like it was kind of trying to replicate another filmmaker's style, which, you know, I still had a good time.
I know I'm being the moron who's bringing a video game into a movie discussion, but did you guys play Alien Isolation?
Joseph does it all the time. Play Alien. I have tried to start playing Alien Isolation so many times and just can't do it. It makes my anxiety go too high.
Yeah, just a bit. I usually bounce off horror games pretty quick.
I just get too scared.
Alien Isolation and Alien Romulus have a lot in common. Like, a lot. It is a weird, tenuous grasp It is very similar in Romulus of it like depends too much on the alien lore of like weird coincidences with Alien itself. It also falls apart in its third act by kind of just becoming action instead of resolving its themes.
In Alien?
But Isolation,
in an Alien movie, never.
And Romulus, they both just have that universe, and I just like I huff that universe like the smell of apple pie. Like I love that retro tech look and the CRTVs so much. And again, I as much as mean things as I have to say about Romulus, it looks so perfect every single time someone was at a computer screen or working with some piece of technology, and it was just this horrible warehouse giant red buttons. I loved it.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I feel like
I'm a fan of the tech.
Go ahead, Joseph.
I'm a fan of the analog tech. I think that's a really cool feel for a sci-fi story, especially in like a workman these are like work terminals, and we're all getting screwed by the company that we're all forced to work for. So this is just like the shitty employee portal that we all have to use. I like that. I think it fits really well.
Real quick, can I take it aside about Alien Isolation?
Yes.
Sure.
I'll
This is now the Alien Isolation cast.
You can cut it out if you don't want to.
No, I'm not gonna cut it out.
We're planning on. I don't know. We have talked about playing the game for the show.
I love the convo. Yeah, we want to do an Alien Isolation live stream.
Can I give you guys
so yes, please.
Also take permission to do a spoiler from the ending of Alien Isolation?
Sounds fun. Sounds fun.
I don't mind.
Okay,
spoilers.
Beautiful. Yeah. I've got all my permissions to tell this, and it's not even going to be worth it. But at the ending of Alien Isolation, one of your little side missions is you're trying to find the black box recorder of the Nostromo because you are Ellen Ripley's daughter, and you want to get a final message from your mom, who is Ellen Ripley. Anyways, you finally get it, and they dug up Sigourney Weaver to do a recording for this game, and you finally get it. And it's really bad. It's really poorly written. And you just hear actual Ellen Ripley's voice being like, "Hey, sweetie, it's your mommy. I've got bad news. There are monsters out in space. So watch out for those monsters. I love you. This is Ellen Ripley."
That's fucking funny.
That is so hilarious.
It's like how it's not really like that, but I just want to bring it up. It's like how God damn it. What's his name? Godfather. Apocalypse Now.
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando. God, I hate my brain sometimes. It's like how Marlon Brando's last performance is technically in the Godfather 3 video game, I think. Godfather 2 video game, where they recorded him on his like hospital bed with like respirators and shit going on in the background, and you could hear him through the door. And they like dubbed most of his lines in the game with a different actor, but his actual literal last performance on this earth is in a shitty PS3 game no one's ever going to play again. I just wanted to bring that up, you know? When else am I going to bring that up?
That is insane.
Elsie, you've been trying to get us to do the plot of this movie for 20 minutes now. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good, because I have a different tangent that stops us from getting to the plot. This whole it's funny how we keep kind of coming back to like the vibes and like it's a vibe movie. I feel like this reminds me of this reminds me of, there's a YouTuber I follow that was just talking about, he was babysitting his like young Gen Z nephew, and he was trying to get to know like his young Gen Z nephew, like, hey, so like what kind of things do you like, what TV shows, what movies do you like? And the kid's like, I don't really watch movies or like whatever. He's like, oh, like, do you like video games? Do you play this game? And the kid just goes, I don't follow plot-based media.
That makes me want to fucking kill myself. Holy shit!
And I think that's what this whole thing is making me think about.
Thing you could have ever said, Elsie.
I got gutted.
I think this is kind of all steering towards is that I feel like with music, I think movies are starting to become vibes.
Yeah.
Like how there's no genre with music anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's a chill vibe. It's like a this vibe. And I feel like there is kind of a rise in the popularity of vibe film. And let me give you an example of like one of my personal favorite vibe movies in the last few years.
Okay.
Tenet. right?
Yeah.
The,
That is
you're
the
not
epitome
watching.
of vibe movie. It
You're
doesn't
not
want you
watching
to
that
try to follow it.
Harvey, have you seen Tenet?
I have not, but I know Nolan, and I also did not like Oppenheimer, which also kind of felt like it was going for some vibes in a historical biopic.
Yeah. I was not a huge fan of Oppenheimer, but Tenet, for me at least, is lit. And like, I don't want. Do you know the basic premise of Tenet? Like, I'm not going to spoil the. It's hard to spoil the plot, how it's structured. But like, do you know what like the gimmick of Tenet is?
Oh, it's Memento and Inception put in a blender of like there are nuggets of time that go backwards or something.
Yeah. So like, basically, like objects.
Dude, I
and
watched and I still couldn't fucking tell you.
I love every time I watch Tenet, I love it more and more because I kind of give up a little bit every time.
Maybe I should stop watching plot-based media.
And basically, yeah. So there are objects and people that are their entropies being reversed. Like there's a guy with an inverted gun that can catch bullets. Like there's a bullet hole in the wall. He just goes up with this inverted gun and it like reverses the gunshot. And it goes into his gun and like it's shit like that, and all of there are a bunch of like scenes and like set pieces, and like there's a whole war at the end where there's like two armies fighting in this war zone, and like one of the army is all inverted, the other one isn't, and they blow up a building twice. Like they blow up and then revert, and it's unfollowable. This movie, it's not. Like but it is for me.
It's just people.
It's It's
people talking so abstractly constantly that it's almost like trying to make you just give up and just watch the movie and just like watch the cool effects and shit.
Yeah, it's like so entertaining. Another movie that actually is probably closer allegory to Romulus. That feels the Batman for me feels kind of like
fair.
that. Like the Batman doesn't really have that complex of a plot. It doesn't have a lot going on with it. It's very basic, but the technical aspects and the direction and the music and just like how everything is presented to you is what the style. People talk about like style over substance. That's the trend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I can add to this by saying Civil War. I finally saw Civil War recently. And that is a good looking movie, and it has some really striking visuals in it. And I just thought that the characters didn't have that much to say, and to the point of I won't spoil it. I won't spoil it because I do think it's a movie worth watching. But that whole movie, the main plot line,
everyone here has seen it.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's not all of your listeners. You can't guarantee that.
Spoilers for Civil War.
I guarantee.
I think I'm disregarding it because I don't like.
Has seen Civil War. Elsie didn't like it. I did.
The whole plot line revolves around an interviewer wanting to interview a character, and the final scene of the movie is this character gets in the room with this other character to interview them, and he delivers one line, and it's just not a very powerful line. You talk about a moment when a script should be blowing up in your face and really be powerful words, and the words are meaningless. So yeah, there is the trend of movies where just watch them on mute. The script doesn't matter. Who gives a shit?
I don't think it's just movies either. I think TV shows are that as well. Like Stranger Things. Like, tell me the plot of season 4 of Stranger Things, or is the kind of same thing where TV shows are also getting smaller and like every. Oh, I'm
still struggling with. I don't watch narrative-based media. I don't know. That's like, what do you watch? Do you just watch like people talking about their day, but not like in a narrative way? I don't understand.
Oh man, Long Legs is narrative-based.
Yes,
that can
that's
fuck itself.
That is the best example, I think, where it's like vibes over everything else. Like the vibes were the only good thing about that movie, I think.
I thought Long Legs was so cool, again, as a VR experience. I had so much fun looking at that movie. And then
this is our Long Legs episode, by the way.
If you sit down with that script...
If you want to listen to what me and Deepty did a Long Legs.
Oh yeah, you guys did,
episodes.
But I wasn't there, so it doesn't count. So. Just kidding, you should go listen. Yeah, you were right, though.
But yeah, as far as the plot of this movie goes, I mean, it is, you could fit it in 2 sentences. There's a group of teenagers in a awful part of the universe on an awful planet where the sun doesn't rise. They find out that there is a spaceship that's coming into their orbit where they can get cryopods, and with cryopods, they can take long distance to a nice little universe where there's sunshine. They board this little Weyland-Yutani vessel. It is full of horrible nightmares, including aliens and a dead actor, and shenanigans ensue.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
That's because I get angry. I actually can't talk about it without starting to like my heart beating too fast.
Probably probably my actual least favorite part of the movie.
I thought about it. I think there should be a petition. And now 10 years ago people ignored that shit, but kind of the Snyder Cut thing. There should be a no Ian Holmes cut of this movie. You could film
the ashes to ashes, ashless cut.
Yes, hire an actor, hire someone like Bryan Cranston for 2 hours to refilm those scenes. Have a new android.
For people who haven't seen it, we had the actor who plays Ash in the original movie, the destroyed android.
He died in 2022.
Yeah, Ian Holmes, dead. He is in this movie as a horrible deepfake on an animatronic. When honestly, androids can look like literally anybody, any actor. So there's actually no fucking reason for them to have deepfaked a dead man onto an uncanny valley half-dead android, aside from just member berries.
So I was talking to a friend about it, and they asked how the alien was. I started complaining about the Ian Holm thing, and they said, "Oh, so it's like Princess Leia in Star Wars movies." And I said, "No, because they kind of hid that from you." And
yeah, because Princess Leia was in it for 2 seconds.
Yeah, when you first see Ian Holm as Rook, who's basically just Ash, you assume like, okay, this is bad, but this is like one little detour in the movie. We're not going to have to see too much of it. He has so much screen time for a dead man.
He is a main character. Yeah.
Yes, like third build.
He's kind of the antagonist of the movie, really.
Yeah. Yes.
Like he's the one directing Andy. He's the one that
I remember
trying to get them to save the Prometheus goods.
I saw him and I was like, oh my god, is that Ash? Oh, that's funny. That's a fun little Easter egg that he kind of looks like Ash. And then they turn him on and I'm like, oh no.
I disagree with it. And that's where my real hatred of this movie comes from. It is that section, because that can't be the future of film. We can't have dead actors leading movies. I know this is crazy over dramatic, but I want to go stand before Congress and say, hey, I don't care that his wife said this was all right.
This should be illegal.
As a society cannot have this.
For me, it's the equivalent of they might as well have gone to his grave, dug up his bones, and Weekend at Bernie's on the screen. It's literally the same thing for me.
This is what it's gonna be. I'm sorry to say.
Disney tried to recast iconic characters once. Solo, a Star Wars story. We got a young Han and a young Lando, and it's just new actors. And that's what they should be doing with legacy. If they want to bring legacy characters,
which was completely unnecessary in this movie, by the way, because it's a different character.
It wasn't needed. It should have been someone else. I also think that scene is everything about that is awful and morally terrible and just And
I agree with what you're looking for.
Yeah, but even just removing the disgusting parts of that. It just wasn't necessary in the movie. They just didn't need that. Literally just be oh, there's a dead android on the ground. Yeah. And then they plug the chip into Andy, and then Andy knows everything that android knew. Because the only... Yeah.
I'm sorry. He can be the antagonist.
That's what I was thinking is if someone gave me this script and said, hey, punch this up, I would have had one of two things happen. I would have had Andy be kind of possessed by Ash, which would have been interesting. You would talk about the human characters have aliens inside them. Our android character has an evil android inside him. The other thing I would have done is I would have just done the David thing again, and I would have had him find another Andy android. And he's he's having to face off these two sides of himself, of finding a true family member, and that he has this twin. It would have played off the twin motif too. There's a billion different creative things you could do instead of
Yeah.
having a dead man talk to us in really, really bad effects that will look.
It
even
does not
worse
look good.
a year
Yeah.
down
It's horrible looking. Like it's
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, well maybe they're going for like it would be kind of Uncanny Valley because it's like a half broken android, so it's like they're deep faking on. From what I could tell, it looked like they were deep faking onto an animatronic. But it honestly, like it didn't look like that. It just looked
Yeah.
like a bad effect.
They just had another stand-in actor, and then they deep-faked on top. But before you get into your point, Avi, I just want to say, with what, like, if they wanted to still have this character in there, what I would have done is like have him kind of look like Bishop in Alien 3, whereas like he's hella fucked up.
Yeah.
Like he's all destroyed, like looking.
He's a full-on
which is how I thought-
animatronic. Yeah.
Yeah, just like a full-on robot. Like them having it be Ian Holmish still is a little gross to me, but it's not this like digital Frankenstein monster that keeps popping up.
I've imagined myself arguing with Fede Alvarez a few times, and I imagine that he saw a cut of how that looked, and people said, "Hey, maybe we should do something else. This looks bad." And I imagine him saying, "No, it's in the Uncanny Valley. It's kind of cool because it makes it more creepy."
That's
It makes me
the
angry.
first thing I thought. Yeah.
Damn, that sounds like exactly something you would say.
So really hard to get over it. So watching that movie, it was really hard to keep enjoying it after that scene, just because it's one of the few times where, and it's interesting, I recently rewatched Alien 3, and there's a controversial scene in that movie that made me feel like I was watching something criminal.
We talked about it.
Scene
I think yeah.
We talked about it on
and
the
then
show.
The cutting.
At length.
and then
The
I
bone
get to
cutter,
watch
the bone
Romulus, and once again, I feel like I'm watching not just a bad scene in a movie, but something maybe criminal.
Should I like go to jail?
So
Are you talking about the? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. I apologize.
Well, I was just asked, were you talking, is Ash the criminal thing, or is there a different scene in Romulus you're referring to?
So I said there's three things in Romulus that I found. I guess it's the Ash thing that's criminal. The three things I really disliked were the Ash thing, and then if we're open to talking about that fourth act, the one place where I feel really, justified is even the people who liked this movie did not like the fourth act. And I got a lot of opinions about that.
Yeah, we can definitely get into it. I would like to. We've pretty much talked about the first part of this movie, and not like up to. We've kind of been talking about the first act ish overall. Before we continue on, I do want to get y'all's opinion. Like we kind of touched on it, but like, how do we feel about? We don't have to talk about most of the other characters, but how do we feel about the characters introduced thus far? Like, what do we think about Rain? What do we think about Andy? I mainly want to talk about Andy.
Andy is the breakout best part of this movie, and I was
agree.
really disappointed when he got a chip that made him boring.
Oh,
Obviously, his character is autism coded, and people complain they do too much of that. It doesn't bother me. I do find that like very interesting, and I get very invested in media that uses androids to express different kinds of identities. So Rain and Andy, I really liked their dynamic. I thought they had chemistry. I thought it was sweet. I thought it was cute. And so it just made me that much more disappointed. I keep saying that over and over again. I liked them, and then I liked the other characters too. I thought Handsome Man, our new Hicks, was a little bit boring. But beyond that, everyone else had a good little thing going for them. And I like that the movie did a good job of establishing Kat as kind of this sweetheart, almost kind of like the group's mother, which was intentional. I thought they did a good job characterizing her, which made it that much sadder when she has her weird death.
Yep.
Yeah, her whole weird death, her whole awfulness that happened to her.
Yeah.
No, I really, I knew that David Johnson was playing an android in this movie before we saw it, but I had no idea that that's what they were gonna do with him. Like, we've never seen an android that's not fully functioning, Yeah. Like, just the concept of like we have an android character who like is, he's a little rusty, he's a little crusty is something that's so new. and even beyond, like I remember I've heard some people complain, like me, in the black movie reviewer community, that I've heard some specific complaints that, like, you know, the only the only not white character, actually not white, Isabel Merced, Kay is Hispanic, but the only black character in this movie, and we make him an android with problems. You know what I mean? And the way that I read that,
yeah, I kind of saw some commentary there.
Yeah, the way that I read that was like, and this actually kind of ties into earlier you had mentioned, what if you found another Andy droid on the ship as opposed to Ash? The reason why I don't think that would work is that the way I read it is that Andy's model, and they say the movie is like, he is specifically an android designed for these mining colonies.
Yep.
Like he is like a lower level android, like a construction droid, quote unquote, that like your purpose is to be on these shitty mining colonies with all these shitty poor people. So they make him look like make him look like a black man. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and that is one of the lines that stuck out to me, is actually brilliant. Is I was having a hard time focusing on what Ash was saying because he looked so terrible. But he looks at Andy and he says, "Your kind built the colonies." And you want to talk about a line in a movie having resonance. You know, not a lot of stuff in this movie reached out and said something. That said something. He looks at the black character and he says, "Your kind built the colonies." And that was really profound.
Damn, I didn't pick up on that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, is this movie going to say something about society? No, not really.
Matches to my point. I feel like across the board, the android characters always slap. They always go hard, except for Call from Alien Resurrection. She was boring.
For me, the running theme with androids in these alien movies is let's bring up an interesting concept with them and then do nothing with them for the rest of the movie.
Well, Bishop is the only one who gets, and again, part of what makes Alien so perfect is it really resolves things. Like Romulus left a lot unresolved. Just kind of had action set pieces that were supposed to finish plot lines rather than like satisfy them. And that scene at the end of Aliens when Ripley is waiting for the ship and she thinks that Bishop has betrayed her and then Bishop shows up, that's such a good plot resolve. It almost makes you, I think I did cry the first time I saw that, just because like, man, her faith in androids is restored, and Bishop is this wonderful character risking his life for them. Androids really do have a heart.
He's one of the good ones.
Yeah.
She's not robo-racist anymore.
Well, I guess Ripley's not robo-racist. Bishop never had a problem with her.
He knew she was going to die one day.
Andy was the best part of this movie by far. An Alien movie depends on having good characters. A lot of people forget that. I'm looking at Ridley Scott. Andy was
characters.
He was
well
acted.
Like concepts that talk.
They're a part of plot-based media.
The scene that we can't, this is no longer a movie. We don't talk about plot-based media on this podcast anymore.
This is so irrelevant, but talking about this.
The scene that I felt the most for a character in this movie involved Andy. It was like when Andy wouldn't open the door to let Kay through, and like the xenomorph is in the background like skulking around, and Rain and Tyler Rain and Tyler are like begging Andy to open the door, and he's all like, "Nope, I can't do it." The logic, the robo brain. And you see like Rain slaps him, and she's just like fucking heartbroken, and it's like, yeah, damn, dude, like, you know, not making the human decision like that. That was one of the more emotionally resonant scenes.
Well,
for me.
and that was also a clever scene too. That's where the script actually had something to say, because at that scene, I can't remember what the exact line is, but he uses her words against her, because he found out that he was going to get left behind as part of the arrangement to leave. And whatever quote she said to him, he says to her of like, sometimes one person has to stay behind for the rest to get out.
He said, she said, "How could you do that?" And he said, "What? Leave someone behind?" Like, fuck, you were gonna do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Andy's great. Yeah. Moving on to, some of the other characters. Like I said, I've just seen. You know what's funny? I don't know if you guys know this. So Isabel Merced, who plays Kay in this movie, she played Dora in the Dora the Explorer movie.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you guys knew that.
I did.
So,
Only because
like,
you told
when
me.
Yeah, I remember like when I saw that she was in this movie, I'm like, oh, Dora in space. Can you see the alien? Donde está xenomorph?
She had
but-
a really good performance. Again, the trick to a good alien movie is to make characters feel really lovable while doing as little as possible. The original Alien succeeds at that. Covenant and Prometheus are awful at that. And one of the things that Romulus does right is I really felt like I know these people and I wanted to spend more time with them. And of course, she's just kind of like the bubbly group mom. So I really liked her energy and really felt like I knew her. And now I'm successfully not saying the thing I've said every time of was disappointed when everything became action schlock.
The something else that I think was worked about her character, which I'm now realizing is kind of a new complaint. You guys are making me like this movie less, but I still like it.
Yeah.
But something that worked with her character is that she was the only one who didn't get the whole explanation about what's going on from Ash.
Yeah.
Because Ash lays them out like, here are the aliens, here's how they work, here's their here's their life cycle. She's the only one that didn't.
Yeah,
so like when she's being chased by the xenomorph and like when she's seeing all this shit,
It's like a
she
nightmare.
doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, it's like an extra layer of fear that's added on for her, and I think that comes like when Navarro Chestburst was going out, she doesn't know what the fuck's going on. And that's half of the reason why she's freaking out is because she doesn't know what's happening.
I thought that was an interesting
and
concept.
so which is another reason that Ash shouldn't have been in this movie because then the characters could have figured it out themselves. But yeah, let's move on to I want to talk a little bit about let's see, the facehugger scene happened. That was really cool. That's kind of like where we get into the middle of the movie. I want to say right now, I think the facehuggers were more scary than the Xenos in this movie. I feel like facehuggers got their time to shine in this one.
Yeah, and they took some plot from Tremors 2, that they can only see heat, which, as far as like lore stuff is concerned, that actually makes a lot of sense. That an egg can lay dormant for 100 years, but it can detect a life form by heat. No negative things to say there whatsoever. I really liked that.
I like the idea of making the facehuggers actual fear elements, not like just an alien delivery device like they are in a couple of the movies. Like they are scary in themselves. Yeah.
If Romulus has a best thing about it beside Andy and David Johnson's, is it David Johnson?
I think it's David Johnson. I keep wanting to say Daniel Johnston, but that's
the Austin guy.
Yeah.
Besides his performance, if Romulus had a best creature moment, it is the dude fighting against the xenomorph tongue, which was in the trailer and is A++. Again, just so fantastic. That's what I paid $5 to see.
Indeed. I like that part when Andy just like grabbed the facehugger that was going to jump on Hot Man and just fucking threw it against the fence. it was really funny to me. Just like sparks fly. But yeah, no, that was a great scene. Like, yeah, I guess it's hard to cover like all the scenes that all of just like the cool action and horror scenes because there are so many.
Yeah.
Like it really is like a great. I think that's what it comes down to for me. Is like it's a popcorn ride, like
haunted house ride.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a thrilling ride at the movie.
It's
yeah,
a slasher movie.
I agree. And
slasher movie in
sure.
space.
So
I think that's the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So I think this actually takes me to one of my points that I wanted to make because I think it's the appropriate time for it. But we get the opening, which is a little bit too rushed, and we get to know these characters, but there's some good character moments. We see Ash, it's bad. Then there's like probably 60 to 80 minutes of just action shit happening, and a lot of it's pretty darn good. It does start to get tiring after a while. Anyways, they get to a Resident Evil style laboratory that looks a lot like I think a very specific lab from Resident Evil 4. And at the center of the room, they have this giant tube of black goo. And let me tell you guys, when I saw that black goo, I made a noise because Alvarez had a quote forever ago that someone asked him, "Well, how do Prometheus and Covenant fit into your movie?" And he said, "I'm doing my own thing." And when he said, "I'm doing my own thing," I took that to mean that I wasn't going to have to see magic goo and engineers. And when I saw that magic goo, I almost threw something at the screen because I thought we were done with that.
Yeah, I rolled my eyes for sure.
Joseph, you leaned over, like I leaned over to you, and you were like, "Oh no!"
Not the black goo.
You have Ash, and he's like, he doesn't say something that directly references the engineers, but he says like, "Yes, the gift from the gods." And
the Prometheus fire.
Oh,
he said the word Prometheus, and I was like, "Why are we doing this? Why are we doing any of this?" I thought we weren't acknowledging these movies anymore.
Have you guys seen the video of David Lynch talking about his lunch date with George Lucas?
Yeah, where he gets a migraine. Yeah, I fucking love that.
He gets a migraine. He's like, this man keeps talking, and my headache keeps getting worse.
Yeah, I started to get kind of a headache.
I felt that way the second I saw that goo, and just I checked out at that point. And I know, as I said at the beginning of this episode, Alien is the only franchise that I invest in emotions into. It is the only franchise I let myself get hot about. And I really thought that Prometheus and Covenant were a slap in the face. I thought Ridley Scott wanted you as the audience to feel stupid for wanting to see an Alien movie.
For liking
and
Alien,
yeah. Covenant more so than Prometheus, because I think Covenant is such a hateful movie. It hates
it's like here's your fucking alien bullshit.
Fucking alien. At the end of the movie, here you like the xenomorph. Here the xenomorph from Alien. I remember
that's how it feels.
Covenant is one of the only movies I ever felt like was insulting me as an audience member. And so anything having to do with engineers or their magic goo just pisses me off. And so when I saw it show up in this, I was just like, what are you doing? I thought we were going to have fun. I thought we were going to go back to Alien and Aliens. And now our third act resolve and our surprise fourth act, it's Prometheus shit. And you can hear it in my voice. I'm getting hot as I talk about it.
Yeah.
I was just so disappointed.
Yeah, I was also disappointed with that. I was like, why are we I thought we were just throwing all those in the trash. I thought that was the whole point of of like this new approach to an Alien movie.
Yeah. Once again, and this is kind of a shitty defense to it. The way that I guess the way that I think about it as far as like the thing that makes me mad about Marvel movies or like about a lot of like IP content now is you have to do homework before you see something. Like what was the most fucking recent there's the most recent Deadpool and Wolverine. Like Deadpool and Wolverine is I enjoy that movie, but like it is pressing on the fact
movie ever.
Yeah. For you to get the full scope, like, oh, you need to see this and multiverse of this, and you need to see these X-Men movies and this thing and this thing. Or like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was the first one where I'm like, yeah, you need to see Loki season 1, WandaVision, like all of this stuff to like kind of get what's going on. But the thing that didn't piss me off too much about the Prometheus goo in this movie was, one, the way that they got, it's not like they went to the Prometheus planet like it's like, oh, we reverse engineered it from the Xeno, which, yeah, it's kind of dumb. It's like, okay, whatever. But the way that they use it in this movie, like, if I'm someone who has not seen any other movie in this franchise, I'm not really confused about the black goo. As far as, like, oh, it's a goo they get from the aliens.
Yeah, I guess. I think I'm still, like, confused as to, like, why it's in the movie. Aside from just, like, a delivery device for the last big scare.
It felt like it was pandering to Scott as the producer.
Yeah, exactly. Like who is this for? Who really wanted to see more Prometheus shit? Like who wanted to see these movies? Like these movies, like they're almost universally disliked, I think. So it's like, why are we acknowledging them?
The one place where I was conflicted is I was very upset seeing that, but then they explained that Weyland-Yutani is researching aliens to make workers live longer in the mines, which is kind of ghoulish in its own right. And that I actually really liked. I always thought the idea that Weyland-Yutani wanted to weaponize xenomorphs was a little bit silly and comic booky, but the idea that they're interested in alien resilience for genetic research makes a lot more sense. So there was this kind of this whiplash of liking it and then not liking it.
I like the fact that as far as the black goo being here, I like that it had a different purpose in this story than it did in Prometheus and Covenant. Because in those movies, like, oh yeah, it's a bioweapon. That's all it is. It's a whereas in this movie, it's like no, it has a different purpose from the company. And as I wanted to say, this is a plot point they stole from Sorry to Bother You, Harvey. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Oh yeah, I have.
Turn them into horses.
Yeah, horse people, alien people. Yeah, it's the same concept. Totally in line. Which that I'm going to talk about this now. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this now.
Okay.
So the creature at the end, and we can talk about the creature by itself in a minute, but the creature at the end has kind of an engineer face, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like it's got some in skin, and like it's got visual similarities to engineers. I was a lot of the reviewers were like picking up on the idea that like, okay, what if the engineers also use the black goo for a similar thing where like they turn themselves into the perfect organism by harvesting this chemical, this mutagen, and the engineers over time had turned themselves from more human looking guys into what they consider the perfect organism, right? And that's why, like, basically it's a scale of like there's human on one end of the scale, there's xenomorph creatures on the other end of the scale, and the engineers just found the perfect balance where they get all they were able to get all the benefits of the mutagen, but not but not be a horror monster from hell.
Sure.
Kind of make themselves immortal by accident too. Of like, they are immortal in a genetic sense.
Yeah, and that is the explanation for why the newborn at the end looks like the engineers, and that's why what Will and Yutani is really going after is like, okay, the engineers did it, and we're trying to rediscover like being able to turn ourselves into that, like they already did. You know.
Yeah,
that's one
that's
way. That's how I think about it.
That is the strongest case for the inclusion of engineers in this movie.
And it's the sorry, Josie, you cut out there a little bit, but for me, it's like, okay, that's a way that I can understand what's going on with the engineers and how we've connected to Prometheus in a way that doesn't piss me off too much. But also, like I said, for me, at the end of the day, I'm not thinking about Alien Covenant and Prometheus when I'm watching this movie. Yes, it is this thing from another movie that happens to be here, but the movie is not telling me, like, the movie, I don't need to see those movies in order to understand the purpose of this thing in this one, is why it doesn't piss me off, is what I'm trying to say.
I guess it just felt like, go ahead.
I think the reason it pisses me off is because like I have to. It is reminding me that these movies exist, and like the engineers for me are like intrinsically tied to these movies, and it feels like it because on their face I feel like those later Ridley Scott movies are so at odds with Alien just as a franchise that they just don't really fit in at all. So they almost feel like his weird like fan fiction. So like this is almost like adding more legitimacy to those, which I think is the reason they bother me.
Yeah, and then my response to that, Elsie, is like pretending that Prometheus and Covenant don't exist is I don't think they look good on a purely visual level. And so when the fourth act of this movie happened, I thought I was having a stroke because it is the ending of Alien, the ending of Aliens, the ending of Alien Resurrection, the ending of Prometheus, all sandwiched together at once.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like
Alien Resurrection. I wasn't expecting Alien Resurrection to get like a direct reference in this movie.
The same monster and the same death. But
Yeah.
the thing is, I buy tickets, and I will buy a ticket to any Alien movie because I think the xenomorph is so cool. And so when I watch, if I had never seen an Alien movie before, and this is my very first one, I'd say, man, those big giant like penis cockroach monsters are so cool. And then the final monster is, as you said, Slender Man. And on a visual level, it's so disappointing to just look at this kind of not very creative monster. Again, I go back to the very first time I saw
skinny white
Prometheus.
dude.
The moment I saw an engineer, it felt like it was taking a dump on H.R. Giger's legacy of just so visually uninteresting.
Yeah, that's the thing is
so-
like when Ridley Scott was making the first one, he wanted an alien that looked so alien that was like so he approached this like crazy gonzo artist, and then when he makes his own movie, he visualizes the precursors to people just being like smooth people. It's like a complete drop off in creativity. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, at that point, they might as well have just done Greys, like from the X-Files.
Yeah,
like little
yeah,
green men.
and they kind of are
At that
that.
point,
just
why
tall.
not?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah,
just buff.
they're tall grays. They're whites.
yeah. The whites.
Yeah.
Fear the whites.
The white.
But
The,
I feel bad, Elsie, because I keep being mean about this movie. I know you really enjoyed it. What is
Well, no,
your
it's
response to that?
well, no, it's totally fine. I mean, here's the thing. I just think that how do I put this? I am not a writer. I am not somebody who how do I put it? I enjoy a good plot, but it's okay. Let me explain. I'm not offended by anything because I think that the things that we enjoy about movies are different, and I think that's fine. And that's something that me and Joseph have talked about a lot too. Is like if you listen to like our episodes, like we usually, even movies that we both enjoy, we enjoy very different things about them.
We disagree
And it's
every episode.
Yeah, and it's a thing where it's like how do I put it? I used to think about movies on I think it's invalid anymore, but I used to think about it as far as like, okay, is it a good story? Is it am I having fun, which is separate from that, and do I like the characters, right? And those were the three aspects, and like in most movies that I like at least have two of the three of those going on. And if a movie has at least one of those, then it's like, okay, well, I can at least enjoy that one aspect. And now thinking about that scale I used to use, like the fun is just the vibe, right? Like, am I enjoying the vibe of this movie? And as far as like, now, like I said, would I prefer that my movies also have all three? Yeah, great. I certainly think that for me, vibes and of that triple scale, the vibe and characters are things I care most about. Like if it's like a weak story, a simple story, like something like Spider-Man No Way Home has fucking or home. What was the
shitty?
There's No Way Home's the multiverse one, right?
Yeah.
But like, here's the thing, that movie has a shit story, but I still have fun because hey, I like Spider-Man, I like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, I like that character.
Yeah.
But and that's just the thing that like for me, like, yeah, it's just in this particular case, I wanted a monster movie and I got a monster movie.
Yeah.
And as far as like it going deeper and it being a monster movie that does have something to say, like, yeah, it doesn't really, but that's just like not what I was there for.
Well,
and it's totally fine.
To take us back where we were at the start, what I said, I am very thankful that I got a new Alien movie and that it's doing well, and we're probably going to get an Alien cinematic universe. And while I don't really care about cinematic universes, one of the things that happened with Star Wars, and I don't like Star Wars, I don't watch the TV shows, but Disney figured out that there's different fan bases for different stuff. And they made Star Wars for babies, they made Star Wars for people who just want to see lightsabers, they make Star Wars for people who just want to point at the screen and recognize characters. And I think the same thing's going to happen with Alien. And I think that much like, I haven't watched Andor, but I know how people talk about it, where Andor is a very like serious adult script heavy Star Wars TV show, and it's what some people wanted their whole life, and I think we're going to get that from Alien, and I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful that Romulus is here.
Alien Earth, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Harvey, did you see the ad for Alien Earth?
There's an ad for it.
Oh, you didn't see the? Well, it's like a short, like you see the alien.
It kind of just tells you it exists. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wonder what you guys think about that.
Yeah.
I don't like cinematic universes, but again, Alien is the only franchise I care about, and if there was 4 Alien TV shows and 5 Alien movies, I would absolutely watch every last one of them.
Yeah. No, I think I'm not a huge fan of. I've just always been really interested in crossovers, even though like literally every one I've ever seen is disappointing because like there's no real way to do one right. I don't think in like I mean I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's an example.
Flintstones Jetsons did it pretty good.
That's yeah, exactly. You give them both equal time. But I think being the person here who has the least connection to this series, I'm kind of in the same boat as LC, where like I went into it wanting a fun monster movie in space, and I got that. And then in hindsight, I'm kind of like, yeah, there's some lost potential with the storytelling and the the themes.
It could have been more.
Yeah, exactly. But I still had fun, and I'm probably still going to watch it again. And I thought it was a fine monster movie. That's me.
Something I wanted to say as far as the cinematic universe thing. I used to like cinematic universes when I had time to sit down and watch everything. But like as far as like now I'm an adult who doesn't have the time or energy to pay attention to every little TV show, every little Marvel short, every little like tiny thing. Like there's a I wanted to say there's a prequel comic coming out about of Alien Romulus called Alien Romulus 1. And it's gonna be about Big Chap like killing all the scientists and shit. It's gonna give a little bit more backstory as to what exactly happened on the base before they got there. I don't know if I'm gonna read it.
No, it sounds
like
I'll
probably
have some.
Just questioning their logic. Why would you not call it Remus? That's the easiest.
Exactly.
Get.
That's what I was like. Are we gonna get an alien Remus? Like I don't understand. Like. I was like,
confuse people. Maybe
is this going to be a two-parter? But like when I saw the trailers and stuff.
Yeah. I think we can. I think we're at the point where we can start really honing in on the end of this movie. But before then, before we talk about the kind of like the whole end of this movie overall, I kind of want to ask you guys. I have is there a particular scene at any point during this movie before the end that really sticks out that you wanted to talk about? There's one kind of moment or one kind of like aspect that I really appreciated in one particular moment that I wanted to discuss. But for y'all, before we get on to the ending, is there anything y'all wanted to hone in on? Scene-wise?
Go for it, Harvey.
So I think the way you feel about this movie, LC, is the way I felt when they first arrive at the station. And I was having such a good time. I had a big bowl of popcorn and I got a whiskey banana split milkshake. And they arrive and I thought the concept of the artificial gravity going off and on was really clever. I thought they were going to do more with that. So they arrive at the station, they introduce that concept, and then the jerk character, who I can't remember, is bullying Andy because his parents were killed by an android. And it just, for those 10 minutes, I really was having a great time. And they were setting all this stuff up, and there was emotional stakes, and you knew the aliens were coming. And while nothing particularly crazy happens in that section, it's vibes. The vibes are so good. Not just the sets, but also what's going on with these characters. And so it's this little moment of innocence before everything comes crashing down.
Yeah, no, I get you. Like that moment, as soon as we get Ash, and as soon as like things stop, it becomes, as soon as it becomes a quote unquote a modern movie. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, it's just yeah, I was able to have fun with it.
Yeah, me too.
Something I wanted to say that I really enjoyed about this movie, and it's something that the first Alien did really well for me that I think this one also does, is that I feel like I have a very good sense of space and like a general idea of the layout of this station. And I remember there's one, like, and something that I remember from the first Alien that I really hated about when me and Joseph rewatched 3, I really hated that I didn't know where the fuck I was in the prison during 3. Like everything was just brown. Whereas like in that
fever dream.
Dude, I didn't know who anyone was in that movie. I couldn't tell anybody apart.
Yeah, it's just
I
a bunch
couldn't
of
know where I
bald British
was.
heads.
Honestly, it does feel like a nightmare in hindsight. Like I'm trying to remember a dream.
Yeah. But like in the first Alien, they have that long tracking shot in the opening where you see the different sections of the ship, And in this movie, the moment where when the chest burster happens, their like little ship is like kind of out of control, and it does a flyby of like it kind of like flies through by the station into the docking bay or whatever. And there's a part where you see the headlights flashing over the windows, and then it cuts to a set, like the set of that hallway that we've seen a few times, like which all of the hallways are kind of circular. We kind of get the same kind of sense as like, oh, it's like everything is like kind of this circular winding down layout.
Yeah.
And sorry, I think Courtney's home. Blossom's freaking out.
Oh.
Like you just the way they lined up, like the shot of the ship outside, and you see the lights of it going through the hallway in the same. I'm like, oh, I have such a good sense of where they are, you know. And it's just the same kind of thing. It's like I have like an idea of the layout of this place, and it makes it kind of feel much more tactile. And that's just something I really enjoyed. I just wanted to mention in the review before we talk about the ending.
When the exterior of Romulus looked really good, that space station from the outside looking in really looked incredible.
Yeah.
It looked like 1970s footage of an actual space station.
Yeah. I really like the music in this movie. I thought like these like big, huge like synthy swells. I was a really big fan of the ship or the station right at the end, which I know we're about to get to, falls into the ring of the planet, the big ice ring, and just gets really slowly ground down while the music's just swelling really loud. I don't know, that really hit for some reason. I think really good music can elevate a movie really far.
It had like a triumphant theme for certain parts, and I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. It's not even just the use of the... You okay, Harvey? Something slam?
My phone fell down. I'm sorry. There's no cutting that out, is there?
No, it's all good. It's fine. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, no, even the way that Fede Alvarez uses silence in this movie, I feel like is pretty effective. Like the opening where you see like the outline of of Big Chap in the opening in like the thing, and the music, there's like this chorus going, this like hellish like chorus of voices, and then it just cuts to the title.
Almost like 2001-esque.
Yeah, it's very burned into my brain, and it's a really good flip on the original title for me. Just like it hits. It got me pumped, you know.
I mean, you know, when for some reason it made me automatically compare it to the director's cut opening of Alien 4 with the
with the bug,
with the guy squishing the bug and then like almost eating it, and we back out of the ship, and then the title just drops in the series known for like really cool title drops.
We've talked a little bit about the creature at the end. So the ending of this movie, Prometheus Fire, the ending. So Kay, a plot hole in this movie that does kind of bother me is going into the ending. Why would Kay inject herself with the black goo?
Maybe this will help.
Because here's the thing, she didn't get the whole thing with the rat, and she didn't even see the whole thing of like, she wasn't there for when it was explained what the black goo does even, you know. And like, yeah, she's injured. Like, I don't see like, that's probably the one plot hole as far as like something that like, as far as the course of this adventure, like seems like a character decision that comes out of nowhere. But yeah, so as far as this fourth act, this creature, I just want to say like my kind of opinion of it. I thought the design was really unsettling of the creature. I didn't catch something I wanted to say. I didn't catch exactly how Kay got killed the first time we watched it. Like, and I was actually talking to somebody, but like, oh yeah, when Kay died, I'm like, wait, Kay didn't die. She could be in the next one, but no, she for sure did. And I didn't catch the full scope of what it was. And for the audience, like,
what happened.
hopefully you just, I want to recap because I didn't catch it until when I saw it again yesterday, because I wasn't paying close attention that first time, and they kind of cut around it weird. But like, so after she gives birth to Slender Man, right? She's like, you can see she's when I saw the movie, I thought she was like reaching down like her vagina, like where she gave birth, but she was reaching down to her breast, and she was like lactating weird alien goo.
Yeah,
it was like
clear
weird alien goo, and I didn't notice that the first time.
I didn't notice this either. What happened?
Well, she so
were we both just too scared of Slender Man?
I was stoned.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and then when Slender Man comes back, I didn't even put, like, he's like creeping up on her. He's like, oh, he's looking to nurse. And then when we cut back to, she's like, he sucks her dry. He turns around, throws her body, Kay's body, and his face is covered in like the clear black goo milk shit.
Yeah.
Like he literally like sucked her dead.
So me and my friends, we play a game where we like to predict what's going to happen in a movie and then assign points. That we actually had a very terrible podcast back in the day. And yeah, one of my friends predicted that there was going to be alien milking just for fun. And yeah, that's full points.
She played the lottery.
Wow. What luck.
I wasn't predicting engineers to be in this movie at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something where like I didn't put it together the first time I watched it. And it's to the point where like I definitely think there is an extended, more fucked up version where we see way more physically happening there.
I'm cool with not seeing it.
Yeah, no, like the Fede cut. Which that's just something that I find, how do I put it? Actually, this is a good point to talk about this point. I just want to mention is that, so there's definitely been a response by some people who've seen this movie who like, if so the whole allegory for like sexual assault and pregnancy is something that has been in this franchise since the beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like this movie has some moments that are a bit like too on the nose, if that makes sense.
It's not so much subtext anymore.
Yeah, or it's like it's
especially
extremely
at
overt.
The end.
Yeah, especially at the end. But I think about like literally like the Xeno gets birthed from the wall vagina, and when its head pops out, like yes, the alien's head looks like a dick, but it literally just looks like a dick popping out of a vagina.
I think I leaned over to you and I was like, how the hell did the studio okay this? Like, what kind of magic did this director pull to like to have this in like a movie in a theater? Because that is like you can't, like, the aliens look phallic because like Giger's art looked phallic. This is just a vagina.
Yeah, the way I would put it is there's sexual imagery, which is like poetic, and then there's just sexual images. I think that I saw Alien and Aliens when I was 12, or maybe even younger, and that stuff went over my head. There's that goes right in the eyeballs.
There's no going over the head with this. It's like very much something to pick up, and it's something where it's like I know people who didn't like this movie, like they very specifically didn't like it because it was triggering for them, whether or not they have like a sensitivity or a history
that's Alien.
with it. But I mean, it is, but I feel like you can not ignore it in the other movies, but like it's subtle enough in the other movies where like if you're not paying attention, you can be absorbed in other things in the movie to where you're not really going to notice that. Whereas like this, it puts it right in your face. And it's a thing where it's like, if you're familiar with Fede Alvarez's other work, like he has Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, especially if you know the ending of Don't Breathe, like sexual assault and like impregnation and like penetration are things that Fede Alvarez. It's one of the reasons why I thought, oh, he'd be perfect for an Alien movie because of that. But I don't know. There are some parts that it goes a little bit too far in some places where it's like, yeah, there are people that I am not going to be able to recommend this movie to because of that specifically. And I consider that like that's the one reason. That's why I docked it down on my Letterboxd, was that more than anything else.
See,
that
my
thing is a lot.
Yeah, it is. I think I don't want to push back too hard because I want to look like an asshole. But
please go. No, I'm kidding.
I wouldn't recommend someone who's like triggered by images of sexual assault to watch any Alien movie. I don't think, especially like anything involving face huggers. Because honestly, that's like we were talking about. That's what these movies are about. Like, it is way more blatant here, and I'm also like, I've got the thing where I'm like, I think anything anything should go. I think maybe a content warning might help, but I'm not going to be upset by something unsettling going in a horror movie, unless of course it's Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
I talked earlier about the legacy of H.R. Giger, and I think had he lived to see the engineers, he would have been deeply ashamed at how uncreative they were. But I think if H.R. Giger could see that wall egg, even he would be like, all right,
it's like you're just drawing vaginas at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah. As far as the ending goes, I guess the only thing we can really talk about with the ending, because we've kind of been just coming back to it a lot during the review, is just the design of this final creature, which I'm going to base it just on this one question to kind of like simplify it down a bit. Is it better or worse than the newborn from Resurrection?
Better.
Like, how do they compare?
So I'll let Harvey refute me after, because I don't think my argument holds much water, but I think for me the newborn in Resurrection wasn't scary so much as just like hard to look at, and like just made me uncomfortable which isn't like it's like but the newborn in this movie made me like actually like kind of scared. Like I thought it was actually like creepy imagery, and I know that's just because it's Slender Man and kind of like tall lanky white dudes are scary kind of, but yeah, I don't know. I actually did have like a creeped out like fear response to this, whereas in Resurrection I just thought it was gross. So I think that this was better.
My refute to that is that I really love puppets, and the Alien Resurrection monster is a puppet. That's part of why I felt really betrayed by that fourth act ending too, is we had some really good physical face huggers that were a real rubber prop. We had some really good looking aliens that were a real physical prop. And then that Slender Man thing, it just looked like something out of a Blumhouse movie. If you had a screenshot of that, you wouldn't immediately go, "Oh, cool H.R. Giger monster."
There was some, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
there was some practical stuff there, though, right?
No, it was the Offspring was mostly practical.
Oh,
with some CG elements added on. But here's the thing: another factor in it is that it was played by, how do I put that? Okay, let me show you.
It is uncreative. I will give you that.
The Offspring was played by this guy, Robert, who you might remember him from. There was like some people. He had, I forget what the disorder is called, but he's got super tall man disorder, super tall skinny man disorder. This is him.
He's Slender Man.
Yeah, like that's just how he looks.
Oh, I've seen that.
You know,
before,
yeah. No, this is the guy who plays which is, I understand why you might think like, oh, it was a CGI, but no, it was just this dude. And I remember when I found out that it was just this dude, I felt a little bad. Like, man, he really just got hired because he looks strange.
I would have believed you if you told me it was just a puppet. And I know that's kind of fucked up to say immediately after saying it, but.
Well, the creepiest part of the Slender Man at the end of the movie is that he's got like the weird notches on his body and the big black eyes. And as much as this guy has some odd dimensions, he's a normal looking dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that there was it does feel uncreative, especially considering the legacy these movies have. But I think in terms of the final monster just being like a big, creepy, sexually aggressive man, it is kind of removing all subtlety from it, but it did make me scared. So that's points I have to give it.
Yeah. It was unsettling, and I think another thing might also be the presentation of it. I think it also is a big factor, because the way that the newborn in Alien Resurrection is introduced, like we just saw Ripley fall into an orgy of alien, and like we just saw a face in that movie. We had just seen a face hugger burst through a dude's head, and like Ron Perlman is like screaming, shooting at it, and like Brad Dourif is giving all these like
so fucking funny.
Brad Dourif is giving all these crazy lines like, "She's giving birth for you, Ripley." You know, like
come here.
There's a lot more. there's a lot more goofiness in Alien Resurrection when we're introduced to that creature and how we are. It's like a lot more goofy, and it's a lot more what's the word I'm looking for? Operatic, you know, like dramatic, like in that sense. Whereas in this movie,
it's just like, oh, what the fuck? Oh, what the fuck?
We just see it down a dark corridor with no musical cues.
Yeah.
And like you can also see how fucking terrified Kay is as is crawling towards her, you know, like I think that the way it's presented is also a big factor, and like for me, it's also more effective for me. But I agree with what you're saying as far as like it being less original in that, like, yeah, it is just like a tall, skinny white guy.
Yeah,
I think
the way the scene was executed,
but it is presented better.
Yeah, the way I would answer it is I just say that it is a better monster at the end of Resurrection physically, and it is a better scene at the end of Romulus.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point for sure. I might, yeah.
I also just think, so again, we're verging into fan fiction territory, which is never what I want to do. But one of the things I always wanted to see is I always wanted to have an alien have its head shield ripped off, so you can see its little
you
eyes.
See what's in there, man.
Yeah, and I just think that would have been so much cooler if they had something like that. I guess the point I'm arriving at is an alien monster is not supposed to have eyes, at least not visible eyes. Mm-hmm. And so having those big black eyes just very much feels like a betrayal of the design in both Resurrection and this.
It's just it feels like such a strange choice, and I'd like to hear the justification for making it an engineer at all.
Oh, Ridley Scott was on set that day.
Well, there was my theory. Yeah, it didn't look anything like Kay at all. And you were saying like an alien gets his head cut off in Harvey. I don't know if you can see my shared screen, but in this scene, Alien versus Predator,
his shield gets broke.
Well, no, he cuts. Look, he's cutting his head off to make a. Have you seen this movie, Harvey?
All about this movie.
A long time ago. I've been wanting to rewatch it.
Look, he takes it off to make a shield for folks at home listening to this audio podcast.
It's just kind of pink
he
inside.
does.
And it's like he's got these little beady eye things. And Alien vs. Predator is a better movie than I think the universe says. Okay, I will take Alien vs. Predator over Alien Covenant Prometheus any fucking day of the week.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
In mind.
I wasn't on board with you until you said that.
and Alien 3.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, and that's blasphemy to some people. But there's been a lot of apologist writing for 3 lately. 3 is not good.
Yeah, what is that? Why are people saying that movie's good now?
It is a nihilistic, horrible movie.
There's been a resurgence. 3 is just boring.
It's like because the prequels. Yeah. It's like, what are you people talking about?
Yeah, because like I said, the worst thing a movie or any piece of media can be, in my opinion, is mid.
Yeah.
You know, like if something is bad.
Forgettable.
Yeah, forgettable. Like there are things in Alien. I'm gonna be thinking about Alien Romulus for months, you know.
Yeah.
And very clearly, Alien Romulus, even you know Harvey. Yeah, even though you didn't like it, like it's still been on your head, in your mind for like the last few days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Fede Alvarez responded to people complaining about the Ash thing, and they released a cut tomorrow with Bryan Cranston playing a new android and replacing Ash.
Yes.
I would probably bump this up to a 5 or a 6 out of 10.
Nice.
That really, I've already talked to this point to death, but really I have an ethical disagreement with that, which is where my super low rating comes from.
Yeah. I agree.
That's
I and we wouldn't be able to talk about Alien 3 for 2 hours. I just want to throw that out there.
That's true. It sucked. Everyone's
that's why we really kind of crammed it into our episode about it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really have anything to say.
Our Alien 3, Alien 4 episode, it's like this much of that episode is Alien 3 and this much of that episode is Resurrection. Yeah, because at least Resurrection's fun bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so with so with this movie, we've talked it to death. What I want to ask y'all now is, what are y'all's rankings of all the Alien movies?
Oh man.
Or at least how about top 5?
Because like I didn't know where I put Romulus before we started talking, and now I really don't know after this conversation.
So I actually haven't asked this, and I have an answer to it.
Okay.
and that is, and I apologize for giving the asshole answer, but I'm gonna be a purist. 1, 2, cesspool.
1, 2, dog shit.
Yeah, that's a really fair take.
And they all have redeeming qualities, and that's what's so interesting about this franchise is that, you know, you have 1 and 2 of the best movies ever made that could not be more different. Which is what's so crazy is that a lot of sequels like have the Ghostbusters thing, where 2 is just a rehash. Alien and Aliens could not be more different of movies. And then that trend continues. 3, 4, AVP, AVPR, Covenant, Prometheus, and now Romulus. None of those movies are at all derivative of each other. None of them are similar at all. And I love this franchise. Out of all of those movies combined, you could build something really fantastic. And I still have faith someday somebody will build something fantastic. And I'm thankful that I have these movies in my life. But as a product individually, 3, 4, AVP, AVPR, Prometheus, Covenant, Romulus, don't like them.
I'm going to get a list of all the movies out for you, Joseph. 1 second.
I can think back.
That'll help.
Our outsider who didn't grow up watching Alien over and over.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I think that's why I'm not like so hot on Aliens, because I feel like it's so pioneering that I've just seen everything that Aliens has done in other movies and in video games, so it didn't feel fresh to me, and I don't really have like a nostalgia like factor weighing in either. But it's, you know, I get why you guys like it so much. I like it.
Yeah.
I think so. My ranking is Alien 1. I'd put Aliens before Romulus, but Romulus is probably 3. Actually, no, Romulus is definitely 3 because I'm thinking about everything else. And then probably 4, and then Prometheus, and then the rest are all the other 2 are bad on equal levels. Yeah.
Rock and roll.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, I like Covenant probably the worst because it's like openly just trying. It's almost like it's trying to piss me off while I'm trying.
The movie openly hates you as the person watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I feel like Ridley Scott doesn't want me there.
Exactly.
Like watching Alien Covenant is like, I'm like, Ridley, are you okay?
It's like it's 4 acts of first acts, and it's so frustrating to watch. I'm like, yeah. You were there when I watched it. You heard all my.
I was. It was fun. I had more fun watching Prometheus though. Yeah. So Alien number 1. Growing up, that was not the case. And then I'm about to admit something. When we first walked out of Romulus on the premiere night, I legitimately thought that it was my second favorite of these movies. I thought it was better than Aliens.
Shame.
Yeah, indeed. I really did. And over the last few days, and especially after this conversation, it's like, yeah, no, Aliens it's a better movie. Like Aliens like has so much more depth. It's, there's just so much more going on below the surface. Whether or not is it like as enjoyable, are there as like maybe not as many cool moments? I don't know. That's I think I need to like get Alien and Romulus into my rewatch cycle and like kind of have all the movies like be farther out, because it's funny, I think I'm gonna, depending on where we are in a few years, like maybe I'll think about it in a similar way I do to the Star Wars sequels, but that's its own thing. But anyway, so yeah, Aliens, Alien Romulus, I'm gonna include the AVP movies. Alien vs Predator is next, and then Resurrection, and then Prometheus, and then do I hate Covenant or AVPR more? I don't know.
AVPR is. It's funny. We've had this conversation. We've discussed every last one of these movies in some qualifying detail, and no one has anything to say about AVPR. And
you can't even fucking see it. It doesn't even count as a movie to me.
Let's keep this insult going, and let's not even justify it.
Like Alien Covenant. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, at least the Alien Covenant was directed by Ridley Scott, all right? Like, it's still a movie.
I still just find it really funny that in Alien vs. Predator Requiem, there's an alien in the kitchen of a Waffle House. Like, it feels so fundamentally wrong, like, putting putting AVPR in like a small Midwestern, like an alien in a small Midwestern town.
So strange.
It just
it
feels
does
fucked
have
up.
the Predalien, which is all I wanted as a child.
Even though you
Also
can't see it.
Also, you see the Predator homeworld for 30 seconds, and I remember thinking that was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen. Fuck it, I'll put AVPR above Covenant. Covenant's just boring.
Damn.
I fall asleep. Yeah, no, I'm doing it. Come at me, bro.
No,
Come
finding
at
out
me,
that
Ridley
that
Scott.
Shaw died off screen, and then watching two Davids play the flute is pretty damn bad.
No,
I'll do the fingering. Yeah, we both said the same line.
Yeah.
That
Pick a
movie's
prop.
so boring.
Yeah, pick a prop from Romulus. What prop you want on your shelf?
I want the little face hugger puppet that moves its little finger, and it doesn't look very real, but I liked looking at it.
Yeah.
Is it against the spirit of your show if I say something in bad taste?
Not
I
at
guess
all. Go
insulting
ahead.
the movie. I
We've
want the
been in
cool
the
little
same-
X-ray stick so I can actually integrate it into a plot, and rather than
Ooh.
just be there for 10 seconds.
Oh, the X. Yeah, that's
Hold
true. The
on, I
X-ray
need to
stick-
show the audience what's going on in my body.
Doesn't this look cool? Isn't it a cool visual?
Hold on, let me
That-
hold this behind
I mean,
me
it
because
is.
this is what I would do.
You want to talk about something feeling like it's from Alien Resurrection? Just like some intern had that idea and they plugged it in. It had no business being in the movie.
It's like they hold it up to themselves to look, so we can. They're not even like really looking at it. Like they hold it up to themselves so the audience can look at it. It's not even like someone like doing medical procedure on them, holding it, like they're holding it up to themselves.
Well, it seems like they were presenting something that was gonna like pay off in the third act, but it's just
Nope.
there. Kind of
There,
weird.
see, we can get a cool shot of a chest burster through an X-ray. We never had that before.
I specifically want one of the freeze-dried, like one of the face huggers in the freeze-dried saran wrap, like with the little like temperature monitor,
Hell
because
yeah.
I want to put that in my freezer, my fridge. That way, when people open it up, they're like, "What the
Nice.
fuck?" Yeah, that's my answer for that. And then, finally, we have a new segment on the show that I'm trying to pop off with the website called "What's a Movie," where
What is a
basically,
movie?
what is a movie? Where like every episode, we have a prompt that we just have to answer for like what,
These are
what the.
hard.
I'll tell you what it is, and this is ironic that this is the one I came up with today because we talked a lot about this comparison. What's a movie that has a concept that would make a great video game? What movie would you want to see the game of? And you can't say any of the Alien movies.
Damn. So, real quick aside, you know that there was that Bethesda Alien RPG that got canceled, and it's one of like the holy grails of lost games. You guys heard of that?
I had no idea.
I misunderstood your question too, and I thought about how good of a movie you could make out of Metroid.
That way can also go too.
I already have an answer locked and loaded for this. If you want more time to think, Harvey.
Yeah, give me a second to think.
Okay.
Okay.
Because the one I've already had this conversation where I want an I Am Legend video game so
Ooh.
fucking bad because it's already built into like video game, like I know it's kind of like that's kind of what Dying Light is, but I want it more like I'm the only person and I have to like survive by day, and if I'm not home by night and I don't cover my tracks and I don't, it's like built for it. I don't understand how it doesn't exist. It's super frustrating that I don't have it like right now.
I'll piggyback off that, and I'll say something that feels a lot like 28 Days Later. So something that's like you've got Project Zomboid, which is I actually haven't played, but I've watched YouTube videos about. That's more of like a Romero style universe, and then you've got not Dying Light.
Like Left 4
I guess
Dead.
Left 4 Dead, Dying Light, but those are all a little more like goofy zombie. Something just super gritty, like a 28 Days Later. Fast zombies, very nihilistic, dark, ultra realistic.
I want that.
This question fried my brain, but I've been talking for 2 hours straight.
It's all good. I'm gonna cheat a little bit, Joseph, in that I'm gonna. We've talked about it before. I would want a Jet Li's The One video game where you're just dimension hopping, having to fight alternate versions of yourself.
And getting stronger.
Yeah, just getting stronger every level. That'd be pretty dope. Maybe you can make like a multiplayer thing where like you just like all like actually that'd be
You're all
cool
playing
as
different Jet Lis.
or just like a thing where like it's a multiplayer game where you're all fighting each other, but every person that gets killed, everybody gets stronger equally. As like I think that would be a cool idea. So I'm gonna say Jet Li's the one. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. We have in fact been talking for 2 hours, 11 minutes, 13 seconds.
I warned you guys. I can talk about the alien, and the crazy thing is, like, I could keep going if you wanted to start going.
So could LC. Yeah.
Oh no, I definitely could too, but I'm.
You guys
hungry.
want me to leave the room?
I want dinner.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, it's nice out. I want to take a little drive. But yeah, no. So, Harvey, thank you so much again for coming on. You're such a wonderful guest. Always wonderful conversations when you're on.
Definitely.
I love you guys. I was so happy to be back again. And you guys said I could come back for Romulus on my In a Violent Nature episode. So please have me back a third time. I'd love to see you guys again.
Absolutely. The next alien movie. Now you can come on sooner than that.
Oh yeah.
In the spirit of Alien, the third time onward that you come on has to be horrible. So no pressure.
Do you guys want to do AVP Requiem?
Well, we did a commentary track of AVP Requiem that's available on.
I apologize.
That is.
I mean,
no, it's all good.
It's
available on our on not on Patreon. It's just on. You can like wherever the podcast because it was an experiment.
If you like me talking about how I can't see what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. And then. Yeah, no, it's been great having you on. It's funny, that episode, the In a Violent Nature episode, I'm just looking at the thing, that was episode 36, and this episode is going to be, it feels like that was more than 9 weeks ago, because this episode we're recording right now is going to be episode 45, and In a Violent Nature was episode 36. That feels like so much more long ago than that. God damn.
Million years,
Time
man.
keeps slipping.
In that case, 9 episodes from now, we'll have you back, Harvey.
Sure.
Or yeah, whatever. You just let me know if you want to talk about if a new movie comes out you want to talk about. You hit me up. Just let me know.
I'm looking at upcoming horror movies, and there's not a lot of good stuff. So I'll message you guys.
The only thing I can think of that might be of interest, like as far as like big IP horror movies that I've been thinking about lately, is well, firstly, I don't know when it's coming out, but they are making In a Violent Nature 2. It got greenlit.
Really?
Wild.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know much about it.
Film it in a weekend, maybe, and then edit it in 2 days.
Yeah.
Make it really shitty. Direct to video, you know?
Yeah, they announced it. They released like a little, sequel set. This is July 26th, so not too long after we recorded. Yeah. In Violent Nature sequel. I was saying when they announced it, like, that they should do a different kind of monster. Like, have like a Freddy Krueger like demon that we're in the perspective of. That could be cool. But that's a whole different. That's a whole different
higher budget.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot more money.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been Midnight Movie Gang. We've had Harvey Thomas Boyd
Harvest Tommy.
I can't.
Yeah, we're starting to fall apart, guys.
Harvest. Thank you so much for listening. You can check us out on Instagram at Midnight Movie Gang, TikTok at Midnight Movie Gang. On YouTube, we're at Midnight Movie Gang Podcast because that movie gang was taken. So yeah, please check us out. Sign up for the Patreon. Let us know what y'all thought of Romulus. Comment on our posts. Message us.
How dumb we are.
Tell us how wrong we are. I bet you all vehemently disagree with us.
Alien Romulus.
Yep. Thank you so much again. Bye.
Bye.
So, here we go. With childish frustrations and complexes which the police are searching for James Todd, believed to make a number of things with him, and her partner in the horrible murder of Walter Grant, everybody, and I'm here to hold on. Oh, please tell me where this going. Please tell me. Sorry, I don't know. How long is it? How home could I got in here? 3 tickets to Albany on 6 o'clock train tonight. What do you think?